Hold John. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the February 6th, 2025 Town of Ankrum Planning Board meeting. Ladies. The meeting is like, yeah, no. Yeah, mine's on. Yeah, I'm on. All right, call to order. Sarah, can you call the roll, please? Present.
Aaron Robertson. Here. Paul Irving. Here. Bill Hack.
Here.
Tom Rondolo.
Here.
John Patch.
Here.
Jeff Collector. Here. Eric Porter.
Here.
Okay. First order of business this evening is the board is going to go into a closed attorney-client meeting. So we'll be, I need a motion to that respect.
Make a motion that the board move to a closed attorney-client meeting.
Can you take a roll call vote, please?
Joan.
Yes.
Aaron. Yes. Honor.
Yeah.
Bill.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Okay. All right, so we're going to be going into the small conference room. We'll be back as quickly as we can. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Again, we're back, obviously. Approval of the minutes on the agenda. Next item.
It's had one, it'll come out in two. And it, should that say without instead of with up in the top? The first sentence of the second paragraph. Running the short term rental without. Yes. You guys didn't catch the other, like the wearing on the front page. I caught it. It's wrong. Oh. Okay.
Anything else? Yes, no, maybe so.
Approval.
Get a motion to approve the minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from the January meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm abstaining. I wasn't part of the board at the time. Okay, correspondence, Sarah?
Received and it's public from the planning board regarding the short-term rental application. And there have been emails from that applicant as well. And then also emails regarding the home and power project. Out there.
I believe they're here tonight.
There's very good.
Okay, so, that's it with that. Okay. Conflict check. Anybody have a conflict with any of the applications that they don't want to participate?
Yeah, I did. For the lead, for
For the-
the lead application.
Okay. Alright, so you will be abstaining.
Let's have a quick question about the correspondence and when people send in letters, do they stay in the file? They're gonna stay in the, in the Dropbox? And those, yeah, so they're part of the record. Yeah. Okay. They should all, there was one just before the meeting started, so that one may not be all that yet, but they all go. As well as.
Okay, so we'll move on to the agenda. Okay, old business, Lee, short-term rental. Was the public hearing open?
We kept.
So it's
we
still
kept it
open. Okay, so it's still open. Okay. At the time of the January meeting, there was a violation. For using it, I believe. Without the special use permit, so that's since been cleared up. The fee has been paid. So, is the applicant here or on Zoom?
Yeah.
Yes, we are here. Hopefully, Konsei here.
All right, did you hear what I said?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have anything to add?
We sent a letter. I don't know if you all had the chance to read it. Or you guys can read it before.
Yes, we received your letter. I believe we all read it.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
So that's the only thing you have to add at this point. So the application is as it is. Is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this application? Yeah, please come forward and identify yourself.
Check, check. Thanks. Hi. My name's Angel Winkle Thompson, and I also live in the neighborhood. So I just wanted to read a letter, on behalf of my husband, James Thompson, and I. So this is, as direct neighbors sharing a property line, we'd like it entered into the record for consideration that we do not have any opposition to the approval of their short-term rental permit. The Lees have been very pleasant and communicative neighbors since their arrival in our community, and any guests they have hosted in the past were chosen responsibly and caused no nuisance or issue. They have specified no loud parties or extra guests and stress respect for the neighbors here. We can convey to the planning board that we've discussed with them that any listing showing the availability to book for less than 30 days after the period of them being notified to comply with all the rules and requirements, while appearing to show that it was possible to do so on the booking website calendar, this was both a glitch on the website and was later resolved. And more importantly, during such time, they had no intention of breaking the rule by accepting short-term rental requests under 30 days, and did in fact did no such bookings from that point forward and complied with all requirements to successfully obtain their permit. We're writing this letter because in watching the Zoom meeting last month, I really feel that the Lees were treated a bit unfairly because they are really good neighbors. And this just took a matter of going next door, knocking on the door and asking some questions for some answers. So I think some things could have been avoided. If there were, I'm sorry, any board members or neighbors that sadly feel that they were lied to on this issue should have a direct conversation regarding this with them for clarity, and keep in mind to be patient of the language limitations, as English is not their first language. If they were at all unclear on any points of compliance in the past, they seem to have gone to great lengths and expense to comply with anything asked of them since September. Sorry, while they are seeking to supplement the expenses of their second home here with the short-term rental, they're very much a part of our community, spend a great deal of time here, and this is not uncommon or unusual in our area, and very much the opposite of a strictly investment property with the sole purpose to short-term rent with no personal connection to the community. By delaying or denying this permit, it not only is the opposite of welcoming them to our neighborhood, but we're effectively pushing them away in what seems to be an effort to set a precedent. If that goal has been achieved, meaning to deter any future homeowners from engaging in short-term rentals without strict compliance, we would suggest that from this point forward, if the Lees have complied and any concerns and questions have been addressed, and there are no legitimate or legal reasons to deny them, that the permit should be granted. Airbnb does encourage checking with local boards and community guidelines prior to listing short-term rental applications. They've been available for a while, but it's probably fair to say that we've gone through some transitional growth in this post-2020, and it can be a bit confusing at times. And I think it's pretty clear at this point, now by going to the website and reading this short-term rental application, that those seeking approval in the future start there. Those in our community who were grandfathered in did not have to go through such costly and expensive process to the best of our knowledge. And the Lees request has raised questions such as putting a cap on the number of STRs and who and shouldn't be granted such permits, which has raised some concerns to those of us who've been here for a long time in our community, and may want to have the option to short-term rent in the future. This point is part of a more complicated ongoing conversation we should all have in the future, and perhaps not use the Lees as this first test case at this point after they have shown all willingness to comply. Having said that, reviewing short-term rental applications on a case-by-case basis is of course a good practice. And in our opinion, as we don't want shady investors just buying up homes here in our community for exclusive short-term rentals. However, not being an HOA and not having established what exact reasons for who exactly can or can't have a short-term rental here, we're left simply with clear communication, compliance with inspectors and planning board, and good faith. We've had problems in the past here with short-term rental guest issues and have managed to address and rectify them without lawyers or any other town resources. Our feeling is we can continue to do so with homeowners / hosts here that communicate with all of us as part of our community. We're suggesting that any and all neighbors that engage in short-term rentals share materials for a welcome packet to guests, which outlines the rules of the shared beach. Boats, for instance, boats are not free for all use, et cetera, as has happened in the past. Speed limit and safety requests, general guidelines and local businesses, activities, et cetera. As this would be in the best interest of all of us and could put some fears to rest. This way, any guest that breaks said rules can be cited from our community guidelines packet, and the host would need to take action to reduce chances of repeat problems. Thanks for listening, James and Angel Thompson.
Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing no one, hearing no one. Okay, so, a couple of things. At the last meeting, we asked for an escrow because at the time there was an open violation. Is that correct? Sure. Excuse me?
We have one more,
I'm not done speaking. Oh, there's somebody else? Okay, all right. Let them go.
Hi, I'm just adding concern about saturation. I understand what Angel says, but at this point, there's no laws about how many people can do this. There's a property up for sale at the end of our road that could become an STR. That would put 3 of them on our road out of 6 houses. I'd like a little more I'd like some rules and so like where should we be going to the zoning board, to the planning board to get some actual like a percentage of saturation in our neighborhood? So, beyond the leaves, anybody else coming in, can we say no? I mean, this is a lot of people in the summer. And we've had problems. Our neighbor Coral Eddy has dealt with, who's 83 or 84, has dealt with numerous problems because she's right next to the beach. And I just, that's all I have to say. Okay.
Yeah, to answer your question, only the town board can change the laws. So, you want to lobby them, there are ways to control distance, so many feet between them, so many per acre. So,
Okay.
but we have to follow what's in place now. And there's nothing for us to prevent this from happening. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Appreciate your comment. Thank you.
Okay.
Going back to what I said before we closed the public hearing, we asked for an escrow because at the time it was an open violation. We didn't know how to handle it. They didn't even know they had it. So, we did ask council. So according to council, past behavior, we can't use that in order to deny an application. So, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
put forth a motion to close the SPR public hearing.
All in favor? Aye. We don't need sequel on this, right? There's no sequel on this. No, okay, so. Board have any comments, thoughts, discussion? According to the building department, the application is complete. All right, I'll entertain a motion on the project.
Make the motion to approve the Lee SPR short-term rental.
Get a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? No. Okay. Thank you. You're approved. Valden. Subdivision. Sketch plan subdivision abbreviated site plan. 85 Wagga Road.
Happy 2025.
So whatever you're showing, we haven't seen before because we didn't submit anything.
The last submittal was in November. And we talked about the ridge line, the extensive lake. We also talked about the mitigation of trying to keep house out of. I'll call it scenic vistas. Since that plan, the proposed. The proposed purchaser has, decided that he would like to shift the house a little bit more to take into the consideration of the board and that. And, instead of going right on the top, building kind of into the hillside a little bit at a elevation which is about, I believe, 12 feet lower than what the high elevation is here. We also talked about the trees that, the proposed property lines, which would be to the west of it, along the edge of the field. Estimation that they're 70 feet high, so the roof line, even if it was a 30-foot roof, would be well below the tops of trees, making it from any road, it wouldn't stick out like a sore thumb, and that's what we're trying to avoid in town and in the zoning as well. So those have been taken into consideration. I did get a letter from the town planner. One of the comments was, why isn't the old road being used? The old roadway was built when the original subdivision went in, because as we talked about at the beginning, this 16 acres consists of 2 previously approved lots within this, which we're getting rid of. And making two non-conforming things more conforming. But the problem is that old roadway, as it goes up to the top of the hilltop that you see there, the grade there is almost 17%, and one area to regrade that, you would have to almost decimate the whole landscape there to try to get it down to the 10%. So this going through where they had the proposed road, he was thinking that he could have a paddock on each side of that proposed road, one down below, one up above. He does like animals and has had animals in the past, and he thought that would be aesthetically pleasing as he went up through there. But the driveway as seen does have a engineer's plans, with a grading plan. They've also, applied for the SWIP permit. The SWIP permit has been accepted by DEC. I gotta get all this information to Ed, which then Ed gets the building permit and then passes it off to you for abbreviated site plan review. So what I was hoping to do is with the plan that we see here that everybody agrees to, is I have a map for the subdivision, and this could be considered the sketch plan for the subdivision, and we can schedule a public hearing for next month. And at the same point, during this month and the next couple of weeks, I get Ed everything he needs to be able to get a abbreviated site plan approval submitted to you as well. And I'll come with 2 maps. One map will be specifically the subdivision, along with one that'll show more detail of silt fences where everything will be for abbreviated site plan as well. I was hopeful that everybody would agree to that, but obviously, if you have other considerations, we're happy to consider them.
Where are you with the septic?
The septic, we're using the old approval site that was approved, previously by the county health department. And what they're gonna do is, when they build the driveway, the goal isn't to put it there because they need 4 feet of fill. The goal would be, when they build the driveway, find a more sufficient spot and get another approval, to figure that out at that point. But what they don't wanna do is just say, hey, I'm gonna go dig a hole and do it right now. So everything will be modified a little bit, and I'm happy to submit that to Ed, which will get submitted to you, but I wouldn't think it's gonna make a gigantic difference in anything of impervious or any of the plan.
Do we have anything from the health department telling us what the system is?
Yeah, so you'll have it in your file, but I can also show it to you that was submitted, in the original.
And that's-
Submittal of October twenty.
And that's still acceptable to them?
Yes.
All right. Okay. That's your. That's it. You know? Well, we never know. Can, anybody on the board with comments, thoughts, we're seeing this for
I'm
the first time?
appreciative of the redesign. I think that it's very considerate and. I have one question and it's just about, like you said, you're already, that's gonna go to the engineer and for the SWIFT or whatever. So that means it's been determined that it's the disturbance is more than an acre. And so does it say that on here? Does that need to be on this?
We're gonna get engineering drawing, don't we?
Right, so that's just for the abbreviated site plan review.
I mean, my understanding of plat should be as simple as possible, the engineering information, you know, site.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the reason I feel like that as well is because this one will be filed in the county, right? And Dennis Leftwick, God rest his soul, if he passes away tomorrow, he might not wanna build there, he might wanna build towards the road, right? And then everything becomes antiquated on the subdivision map, and they gotta come back for you for abbreviated site plan review. So I think less is more when it goes to the county, but more is more when it comes to you as the town.
We agree. Anybody else, comments, thoughts, feelings?
Can you just point out where the house was before, where you have it
So the house before was
up here?
up there.
Yeah.
I have the old one,
Yeah.
actually, but it was
But
right
just-
on, right on the
yeah,
top, and they
yeah,
had
no,
talked about
but,
taking
yeah.
it down 10 feet in elevation and.
Yeah.
But this will be more built into the side of the hill.
Awesome.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you very much.
That's very conservative.
Some people think it better.
Somebody locked out from. Did you submit a EAF?
Yes.
We don't have to do the sequel for the preliminary.
For what?
Yeah. The preliminary, if we can do it for the final.
For the subdivision?
Yeah.
It's net back.
Definitely an improvement from the last time.
I'm sorry.
I think it was definitely an improvement since the last time, so I think
Yeah, so,
it's always a way to.
you know, everybody's trying to work towards the same, I understand that.
I understand view south, but try to.
And, you know, bringing the client here was very helpful for that last meeting 2 meetings ago, because he got to hear your concerns and then reflect on them as well.
Yes. So,
Yeah, to look at the sketch plan.
is this sketch plan or is
This is
this?
a sketch plan.
This is sketch
Yes,
plan.
the sketch plan for.
No, don't, but we can determine that we're lead agency now. And, that you did it, we can go through it. I mean, it's,
We got a long meeting.
okay.
I would think that it would be, with. You might as well take a look at what the abbreviated site plan will be, because that'll leave you a little bit more that, you can look at that and get to a little bit.
Yeah, well,
more.
it's not required for that. So but it's just for the subdivision. So if this is sketch plan now, then we can say we're gonna be lead agency. And then we can go through the questions at the next.
Okay, so can I get a motion to declare ourselves lead agency?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to declare us the lead agency.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And so we're lead agency. It's an uncoordinated review, so it doesn't have to be going where it's going. So. Can I get a motion for sketch plan approval?
Yeah, your application is complete, your
The sketch plan, I see.
Alright, I make a motion. Just get plan approval.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You have sketch plan approval, sir. Look
Oh.
forward to seeing you.
With that, can we schedule a public hearing for final stuff?
Are you sure? It's gonna be ready. The last time I did that, I landed up extending it for 3 months.
I think it's ready now. The only thing that we have to check on for subdivision here is that the notes on the map are good with John Lyons, who I was hopeful might have talked to you about it in your executive session. I got,
He's working on it.
because I emailed him everything about 5 o'clock. He had reached out to me personally, so.
Nothing like doing it in a timely fashion.
Well, unfortunately, when he was sent the letter that I spent almost a day writing along with all the attachments never went to him from Vail the first time. So he read the letter, but didn't really understand unless you have the file maps, the preliminary map and showing where those pre-approved lots were.
All right, so. Make a motion to schedule a public hearing. No, so. Sight unseen. Well, we can always do the subdivision, the site plan is, well, we don't do the subdivision, the site plan isn't part of the public hearing.
I'll make the motion for the Belden public hearing March 5th.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I appreciate it,
You're
everyone.
good to go. You don't have anything else to surprise us?
Everybody-
How many copies?
Supposed to be doing this for the public. Hey,
I'm
Aaron,
gonna need to choose.
Aaron, you have to talk into your microphone. When you talk, nobody can hear you. There's like 20 people on Zoom. Sorry.
Thank you, everyone.
You.
Thank you.
All right, Ankrum. Solar. Special use and site plan. Sir.
How are you folks? I think I met everyone. Microphone? I think I've met everyone here maybe once before, but if not, my name is Rob Ferrolo. Presenting the project on behalf of Ankrum PV LLC. With me is Sierra, who's just going to be hanging out in the background, but she will be making some more appearances and continue to present the project. And then online, I believe our engineer, Nick, the Wendell Engineering is also present. So we may call on him if needed. But we presented initially the project to the planning board in December. Since then, we've revised some of the materials that were submitted per comments received by Ed, the zoning enforcement officer. The cover letter that was submitted, should be at the top of the binder, outlines which of the materials were updated. Most of them were very minor updates. There was only one kind of new piece of documentation submitted in regards to the DOT entrance. And I can walk through at a high level just some of the updates that were incorporated in the submission, as well as the outstanding items that we have met to the draft.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
So the new piece of documentation is the correspondence with the DOT regarding the entrance. We are required to have a Perm 33 application. At this point in time, we have our stage 2 approval, which is essentially as far as the approval will get until the project is approved or not by the planning board. At which case the DOT can then approve that the stage 3 process. So that's included in the binder.
What was changed on the curb cut?
Nothing has changed. It was just correspondence, just providing some documentation saying that we have coordinated with DOT and they have approved our design.
So they have given you design approval, they haven't given you construction.
Correct, correct. And essentially, construction approval will only be issued to us, once we have site plans, especially intervention. So addressing some of the comments that were received from the zoning enforcement officer, which that letter and his referral, I believe, was sent to the planning board for consideration. All notes and call outs within the site plan indicating per the zoning code were removed from the drawings, so that way there is not a code compliance responsibility on folks reviewing the drawing for those call outs. The proposed access road design has been revised, and essentially we've dropped the maximum grade down to 10%. So that's, I think we were at a max grade of 12% in our last session. We got that down a little bit.
Yeah, there's a conflict between our highway
Correct,
notes and the building code.
correct. So, yeah, we brought that down to 10% if you're, local code here. We've also implemented and put a call out in to acknowledge that a Knox box would be included at the main access gate, which is essentially a code box that'll allow access to emergency personnel and anyone for operational maintenance, but would restrict entrance to anyone beyond that.
That would have a fire department key in it.
Yep. And we've also included a detail in our site plans regarding emergency contact information. And that would probably be updated when submitting for the building permit application with supplemental details. But we have the detail provided. And that's what info we would provide. There are two, I think, outstanding items that we're essentially on the hook for that we're actively working on. One is the leaf off condition visual impact assessment. Those take a little bit of time, but we have our consultant.
Good time of the year for it.
Perfect time. So we'll be pushing forward and hoping to have the planning board for their review within the next month or so. The other item was pulling a 911 address. I think that was a comment, actually, not necessarily from Ed, but from Jay. We have reached out to the county and they're providing pretty substantial pushback. Essentially, they won't assign a 911 address despite having DOT approval of the driveway until the actual entrance and driveway has been constructed. So we can try to reach back out, but that's pretty much their stance at this point. And I think it's listed in their kind of not regulations, but directions in acquiring.
At some point, you're gonna start construction and until you're done. And it's a construction site.
Yeah, and yeah, we have a general address assigned to the project for reference purposes. It's 3033 down through 82. But yeah, we won't have the specific 911 address until construction is underway. And then the last item that wasn't necessarily an update, but I know we had discussed potentially a site visit. So we're happy to coordinate.
Right, that was one of the things I was gonna bring up. You set up an escrow account, I believe.
Yeah, so in addition to the updates, we submitted all of the payments that are required. I believe we received confirmation of that as well. It was the building permit application fee, the special use permit application fee, and the escrow payment, which was in the amount of $5,000. And that will enable engineering review as well as legal counsel that would need to support, review the application.
I think we agreed to hold on sending it out when we got further along with the drawings, okay?
I think at this point, I mean, we would like to request.
Well,
that it be-
I'm asking now, is it, are they good enough for us to send out?
Yeah, definitely. I think we just want to have a chance to modify per, zoning.
Yeah, no, understood. I just don't want to send them prematurely and then we gotta send them again.
I
So,
appreciate it.
okay, so we'll forward. I don't think we need a motion. Motion. Sure. All right, are you, done or you have,
I think I would only have questions at this point, so if there's any comments and
let's go to question. Board have any questions on what we're doing, not doing?
Not for sketch plan, but as far as procedure, then, there's something that we can see on site at some point.
I mean, as far as the site itself, there's no construction or anything.
No, but
Can we get some sort of stakeout? So we go out
to
there,
see where the road is gonna go, or to see where
where the cells are
that
gonna
we can
be.
get a tour or something.
I mean, I live close by and would be more than happy to kind of walk you through the site plan where the driveway actually follows the wood line intentionally to avoid any interruption to the active ag on site. So I know exactly where the road is going. I know the field that the array would be located in. I would be more than happy to come to you folks and walk through the staking. We could potentially do it. I don't know how much benefit. It's a pretty vast field area, so if you're
Yeah,
not looking exactly where it
Having
is.
a tour,
Yeah.
guided tour. Is fine,
Okay.
right?
I mean, we held off on scheduling a sidewalk. Yeah, so I don't know.
Is you gonna drive it up there?
Driving is probably not gonna be viable. I think I mentioned it last meeting, but it's a pretty good hike back there. It's like half a mile.
There's already snow on the ground. The forecast doesn't seem to be getting any better.
Yeah, it's either gonna be snow or probably mud. Not great either way. So.
We do need to do a sidewalk, but maybe it's a little premature.
Yeah, I mean, I'll defer to you folks. I think having the visual impact assessment updated will probably. I think the one currently is pretty good. I don't anticipate having default conditions will yield drastically different results. But having that default condition will give you an idea of what to look for and then maybe do a sidewalk.
Yeah, how many positions, locations do you do that visual from?
I would have to double check what our assessment is. I want to say 3 or 4, and those are strategically selected based on existing topography and vegetation. So our consultant picks a spot that it would be most likely to have a vantage point of the array or looking from neighboring properties. The impacts are, this is a pretty well screened project given its proximity to the existing road and existing topography and vegetation between neighboring properties. So yeah, I would say 3 or 4. I would have to check the visual impact.
This isn't a public hearing, but there's people here. I'm just gonna ask, is there anybody here to ask about this application? No, okay. Back to the board.
Let me see if anybody's on Zoom.
Okay, just check, because I offered.
And then would it be all right if I ask a few questions or are there other comments?
We don't take part in it. Go ahead.
If they're easy, I'll ask them. If not,
Go ahead.
or this is like, maybe it would be on. So the engineering, is there a firm that you folks typically use or always use?
For review,
Yeah,
yes, we have a,
okay, Sarah, when, if possible, could we ask for their contact info? I know you guys will probably relay.
yeah, I can't remember the firm, but the engineer's name is George.
Okay,
That's all I remember.
that's completely fine.
And we'll probably send it to our planning consultant, just to have her give us her blessing.
Okay. That works. Yeah, we'll reach out just to determine when they anticipate like comments back, and then that way we'll try and pull those in and get them submitted, turned around pretty close. Okay. And then the other question I had, at the previous meeting in December, I think the planning board made a motion to declare intent for lead agency, but notification letters were not sent out. Jay had asked us to provide the planning board, like draft letters that they would ultimately send out. And then later said, maybe we should wait until the DEO, does their review and referral. Does the planning board still want us to submit a draft letter for circulation? That's something that would be helpful. We do it for municipalities if they're now.
Yeah, why don't you submit it if we decide to use it? If this is gonna be a coordinated review.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get that printed out to ASAP.
Okay, so you could send it to Sarah, you know, Jay has since retired, so.
Yep.
Okay, anything else? Can I get a motion to, what? I was gonna ask for a motion to send, we have the escrow to send the plans out to both, Nan and George. Planning and engineering for their review and comment. Hopefully get them back by next month.
Yeah, they make a motion to send them to Georgia and Nan.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
I don't know if there's anything else we can do for you.
If there's any questions in the interim, please feel free to reach out. We have to.
Thank you. All right, thank you. Okay, next, Homeland Towers, is there on Zoom?
Oh, okay.
Send it drawings. Thank you. Oh, big, I want big, I'm a big guy. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah.
I think this is what I'm constant plan meeting.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Did you find them?
Somebody
Yeah, we're looking for,
David Kenny.
Let him in.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the board. Thank you for letting me join. I also have with me Klaus Wimmer from Homeland Towers. He's the regional manager.
Okay.
Good evening.
Thank you for letting Klaus in. Again, good evening, board. My name is David Kenny. I'm an attorney for Homeland Towers and Verizon Wireless. We're proposing a 150-foot tall wireless telecommunications facility at 6534 Route 22. The application is needed to fill a significant gap in wireless services in Verizon Wireless's network, but we'll also be providing co-location space for other telecommunications providers, and if there's any need for emergency communication service providers in this area. We haven't actually submitted a full application yet. If you may recall, we met with the planning board back in September at a pre-application meeting where we were just discussing the initial proposal for the facility. Application materials are pretty close to having everything ready to go, except for there's one item that's important for the application, which is the visual analysis report. In conducting the visual analysis report, we usually do what is called a balloon test, where we float a balloon the height of the facility, in this case 150 feet, and then we take photos from various vantage points that can kind of see where the tower might be visible from and how visible that tower is from certain vantage points. We submitted as part of our sketch plan filing and pre-application filing some viewshed maps, which based on computer algorithms, looking at topography, vegetation cover, and building coverage, they've given an indication about where they think there'd be potential visibility of the tower. That doesn't account for a full view of the tower. It's really anywhere where we've submitted those viewshed maps where they have the blue shading, could be a percentage of the tower would be visible. So that's based on the computer algorithm kind of giving us indication where we want to take the photos. But we also wanted to meet with the planning board, since you guys have the local knowledge, to gain input from you on any additional viewpoint locations that you may want us to include as part of this visual analysis report. So we're here tonight to just inform of the balloon test that'll be forthcoming, and then also to see if you guys have any chance to give an additional viewpoint location. Again, you don't need to do this tonight. There's time. You can email me. We can include them. And then when the day is actually scheduled, we'll have a person that'll be on site that will also have access to email, so that if during the day of the float, there was an additional viewpoint that maybe wasn't thought of until someone drove by, we'll have that be able to be taken into account on the day of the float as well. But we're here tonight to answer any questions you may have.
The first question is, you got to get us an application and some money.
Absolutely. We can make sure. I think there was an escrow submitted with the sketch plan, but we can submit one immediately for the purposes of the balloon test. The application, again, we just didn't submit the application because one of the application items is this visual analysis report. So we were just holding back until we had this report included with the application, but we're absolutely and fully intending on filing a full application, and we can submit the escrow now for the purposes of reviewing for the balloon test.
Well, you're aware that in this district, the maximum height of a tower is 100 feet.
Absolutely. I believe our application's also being referred to the Zoning Board of Appeals for the height variance. Again, the height for this facility is kind of dictated based on the technical needs. So that's something we can explore during the review of the application. But our radio frequency experts have put forth that this is the minimum height that's necessary for Verizon in this area to fill the gap in coverage that they've identified along Route 22. But that's absolutely, we haven't even filed a full application yet. The height of the facility is going to be part of this review. And we'll have documentation in our application justifying why we proposed the height that we proposed.
Yeah, I mean, based on my cursory review of the location, it's down considerably from the road.
Correct.
The base of the tower.
Correct. There is a slight elevation difference from the road to our location at the on the property by the farm. And again, the main corridor that the coverage is trying to achieve is along this Route 22 corridor.
I mean, yes, you have to submit the visual study, but I think the board, it's gonna be up to them. We would want to observe the balloon test. In fact, we would schedule it as a sidewalk meeting kind of thing, so I don't know what you're thinking for timing.
Well, as I think it was
I
just
know
discussed
wind
by
is an issue, so you have to.
the last applicant about the leaves off the trees, that's kind of our focus now, is we would like to make sure we can get the balloon test done while the leaves are off the trees. The issue with the balloon test is that weather sometimes can affect your ability to have the float. If the wind is too strong, it'll blow the balloon out of place. So what we'd like to do now is, our first effort would be to schedule for a Saturday and a weekend date. That seems to be a date that's more where people are more at home, more available to see the balloon float. And then once we schedule that, I think the town code also requires a public notice. We would be putting a public notice together and we'll submit it to the town to go into the local newspaper so that it would be publicly noticed for this balloon test. But we absolutely can also, once it's scheduled, have a site visit on the same day. I think it'll be beneficial to the board to have a site visit, but the balloon test might even be more beneficial to view it from off-site. I think that's the purpose of it.
Yeah, we're absolutely interested in doing that. I don't know what your time frame is, if you want to send us some possible dates. We have our notice, obviously, if we're gonna hold it as a meeting. But I think that's the crux of the matter here, that if we don't see the balloon test, then I think it's better than all the drawings that we can do. But we'll get a good feel for what it's gonna be and we'll go from there.
Absolutely. So we can make a submission as early as, early next week. We can get the escrow to you guys, and we can also go ahead and have a draft notice for you with some suggested dates. Again, I think we're probably looking to see if we can do this as early as probably February 15th. So we can try to get something up, but that might be a little bit tough to do. That would be the earliest date we could shoot for, with the 7th, with the 8th being on this Saturday. Again, we want enough time so that we've put out a public notice so that it's in the newspaper and the public has been made aware of the balloon test. But also, we do want to do it early enough in case the 15th has a poor weather date. We still have some backup weekend dates kind of to do the balloon test while the leaves are still off the trees.
Yeah, we have to do our notice also, so it has to coordinate with your date, so. I think the 15th may be a little soon, but.
We could try for the next Saturday. I believe that's the 22nd.
What does the board feel about that? What? You're unavailable. You're not available on Saturday. Okay. Okay. Understood.
We can also split the site visit from the balloon test date. If it's preferred to have the site visit on a weekday, we absolutely can accommodate that. The balloon test, again, the reason why we were looking for the weekend is more of the public seems to be home on the weekend. So they'd have a better opportunity to see the float.
All right, we'll discuss that in-house, how we get around
Okay.
the Saturday date. Is another option for us. I get the Saturday being an optimal day to do the test. And again, it's dependent on the weather and the wind, so.
Absolutely. And what we'll do, just, as part of the warning for the weather, is usually we'll review on the Friday before Saturday float, and we'll make a game time decision call at noon the Friday before. Again, it's if the wind is over 10 miles an hour or 15 miles an hour, that's usually too high and it'll blow the balloon out of place. There's sometimes we can try to work with wind if it's long as it's not constant, but if there's going to be reports that they're going to be having, several hours of wind above 15 miles an hour, that'll likely be a day we can't do the float.
Yeah, understood. And the wind usually picks up in the afternoon.
Exactly.
I have a question about where the public notice goes. What papers do you put that in?
So that's one thing that we would ask the town for input on. Usually the town has a paper that uses for its public notices. So we would use whatever the newspaper is of record for the town.
My concern is that this is on the property line with the town of Northeast in Millerton. And many of the homes that are on the other side of the valley that will have a view of this are not in our town. And so I'm not sure of town procedure and if anybody knows about notifying residents not in our town, but that would be affected by this. Because it is close to the property line, the town lines.
I think if you're within 5 feet of a town line, they need to be notified.
Oh,
But
it's
if we-
that close.
Yeah, but we could do whatever.
Well, my understanding is that if you're within 500 feet of a municipal border, there would be a referral to the county. And that would absolutely happen as part of the public hearing for the application and the notices that would go for SECRA and all of that. We're happy to accommodate a second newspaper if you know of one that is more widely circulated. Again, the point of this is just to notify the public of the balloon test. The town, we can also work with Sarah to see if there's something we could post on the town's website as an additional notice. But the newspaper is just, it's the widest ranging form of notice. So that's the method that's kind of encouraged by your code. But we were happy to put in a second newspaper if there's one that you're aware of.
Yeah, we're notifying.
Try to see what's available.
Yeah,
You had a question?
Oh, I just had a brief question. There's plenty,
You have to
I want
you
to
have
make
to-
sure that there's plenty of time.
introduce yourself and thank you.
I just want to make sure there's plenty of time for people to know what's happening and they learn about the issue and we don't need to be rushed into it. We have lots of time till the leaves come out. Oh, the leaves don't come out of the trees here until May.
At least May,
at the
yeah.
earliest,
Understood.
so I think we should give time for everybody to find out about the issue and have some input into the situation.
They're just saying by the balloon test. That's all they were.
No, and that's important information, but I don't feel like we have to rush necessarily to rush in. We need to let people know, everybody know that there's going to be a balloon test. So they have some time to plan it into their calendars too.
So the balloon test you say is photographed, you record it from a bunch of different locations.
Absolutely. One of the submission items we provided to the board was the view shed maps. On those maps are the orange dots that we have suggested viewpoint locations. So absolutely, that's the whole point is the balloon test itself. The balloon is 3 foot, 4 foot in diameter and brightly colored. So it doesn't look at all what we're proposing to build. It's just for the purpose of easily identifying where you can see the top of what we're proposing to be the top of the tower. It's the photo simulations that'll be in the visual analysis report and the photos that I think are going to be the better document to show the public and the board what is the anticipated visibility of the tower. And I do appreciate wanting to make sure the public is made aware and has time to schedule in their calendars the balloon test. Well, that's our whole point of encouraging the public notice portion of the balloon test. But the reason why we're trying to make sure we have it closer to the beginning of March or the end of February is, as I said, we are going to try to shoot for weekend dates because that'll be dates where people are most likely home. And if we have inclement weather, it goes very fast where you can go 3, 4, 5 weeks where you haven't run the balloon test. So we just want to make sure we give us the most opportunity to do it during the leaf off season because the leaves do sometimes start budding in April. That's really our reason for trying to go here is we want to maximize our ability to do this during the leaf off season on a weekend. But there'll be further public notices and ample time for the public to review the application and make their comments.
I have some comments, I think it's appropriate time.
I just have another question.
Okay.
This isn't a public hearing, so.
Okay, I'll be
We're
quick.
just trying to,
I'll be quick.
okay.
My name is John Mack. I just had a question for you. Is it possible, I don't know too much about small cell technology, but do you know if it could be used to push the tower north or south if a better location could be found for the tower?
So that's part of our application is we're going to provide an alternatives analysis where the applicant did review based on the town code where potential alternative locations would be available. But there aren't any less intrusive locations that were available to the client. And this property is right now the only available leasable location for the facility that would fill the gap in coverage. So we don't have any ability to move the location of the tower to a different property because we don't have access to that. And the other properties that we would have access to likely aren't able to fill the gap in service from a technical standpoint. So we'll have more information on that in our application, including, the alternatives analysis that explains how this site was found and the technical reasons why it needs to be in this location to fill the gap in service.
What I was thinking was maybe the way to approach this is to send the drawings out, once you get it to an application. Then send the drawings out to the consultants. Tell them we'd like them back for the March meeting, and then maybe reconvene and try to pick the dates for the room test thing. Does that work?
I'd have, Klaus, could you speak to that? Again, the reason for our wanting to have it sooner is even if at the March meeting you approve us of certain dates, we then have to notice those dates. So that takes additional time. And then if there's weather, I am nervous about running into April and having buds come on the trees and then we miss the leaf off conditions. But Klaus, could you speak to that? He's muted. I think he needs to be unmuted.
No one man. Should have sat on this side.
Yes, absolutely. I think one important aspect of this location is the visual impact and the aesthetics of the neighborhoods. So I do think the balloon test will be and the photo simulations will be a very important part of considerations. I think, and as David has suggested, the issue is we'd like to do this in leave off conditions, obviously.
Okay. We're just trying to satisfy. Go ahead.
I have comments I think are very important to read into the record at this point. So
It's really not a public hearing. We're trying to answer basic questions. How long is it? How many copies?
well, I'll make it in two questions then.
Okay, go ahead.
But you have a question? Bruce?
Yes.
My name is Henry Clements. I'm not of Columbia County, Rogers County. I live exactly east of the north side. And my house would be completely changed. The first comment is that trees are, as the earlier applications, they're 75 feet high. So what we're talking about is the view shed of the towers, right after the tower. I don't think it should really too much about how many of these are in trees, because what we're talking about is something that's spiritual higher than trees. The second one is, I really appreciate what you guys are doing this as a planning board. I was the planning board chair for these 10 years. I understand the difficulties of trying to find ways of mitigating issues like this. First thing I would say is we have gone through a comprehensive plan to make the height for cell tower. I hope you will abide by that. We, as a board, you people of this board worked hard on that comprehensive plan. I just found. And you did it with due diligence and due planning.
Just understand, The code says 100 feet. We're the planning board. We can't approve 150 feet.
Exactly.
That would have to go to the zoning board.
And I will make that comment.
And we'll give our opinion.
Yeah.
You know, we want to look to see how it looks with the backdrop, and is it as obvious as it might be or not might be, and sometimes painting it a different color makes a difference.
All that said, this is also an underserved area and visual horizon, and I fully understand.
We're not gonna let them do is put Christmas tree branches on.
Okay, well, the second thing I would say is the balloon test is, I think you should have lights, and I think you should look at it now. That is the way I'm going to see it. I would thought, if you're the case, to put them out there, you would have to see the books. But I think you'd be able to see the lights a lot farther than you can. The third thing is, the Air National Guard at Connecticut flies a very low cloud along that mountain. At what I suspect is less than 150 feet, because I can see that thing. This is a big plane, and he goes at least once a week. I think you should be reaching out to the Connecticut National Guard. And when you say you're gonna reach out to the county, I don't live in the county. I live in Dutchess County, but I'm not more than, I don't know how many thousand.
Well,
feet.
did
But
you hear us
you know,
discuss?
it's a problem.
Did you hear us discuss?
I did, and I truly appreciate
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna notify.
But I also want to say that it's very difficult to keep a view of the larger area within a thought like this. When we sit on these boards, it's easier to close down the envelope that you have to think about than to broaden it. And this is a case where keeping that broader view will be good for the whole community, and not just the constituents that you sit in these chairs. Giving them a voice. At this moment, I think you should think about your voice being larger.
If I can just jump in here
And
for a
that's
second,
extreme.
I'd like to point out that this location is I think it's especially suitable for what we're trying to do here, which is to provide coverage and also not make a big aesthetic impact on the area. As Chairman noted before, the location is considerably below Route 22. The compound, the equipment, the fencing, and all that is screened by existing vegetation. And also, if one looks at the viewshed map of the facility, it's anticipated not to be too visible from Route 22. And to that point, from across the valley or from looking from the east towards Route 22, I think this location is really suited because there's a ridge behind it. If you then look across the valley, you have the ridge in the background. So there's nothing that really would be standing out or be visible as a silhouette type thing. That is actually one of the reasons why I think this location is good.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. It may disappear into the backdrop and it may not, but that's the reason.
Yeah.
But absolutely, that's the reason for the balloon test. I think what we're trying to do is describe what we think it's going to be, but the balloon test is, the actual process where we can document it, where the visibility is. And to the comment that was just made, the viewshed maps, we have photo locations that almost extend 2 miles away from the facility. So we are taking an extensive area to document the visibility of this tower. We're not just locating it onto a close proximity to the tower. So we are making sure that we document for the region. Again, even at a 150-foot tower, it's a pretty slender monopole. So at a 2-mile viewing distance, it's really going to be not noticeable because of how far away it is. But we are making sure to document from those distances so that we can get the full region.
Is there such a thing as a lighted balloon test?
So a lighted balloon test I've never heard of before. Again, the light itself would probably weight down the balloon and complicate that. The other thing is that there really is no need for a lighted balloon test. The facility will have an FAA report confirming that we won't need a light on top of the tower, and we won't be proposing any light on top of the tower. So a nighttime balloon test of a light would really be documenting and taking into account conditions that aren't going to exist.
Okay.
Is it worth, flying 100 foot?
105 both.
Yeah, there'll be 2 balloons then?
Yeah, you're gonna do 100 and 150 feet.
We can absolutely do that. And what we've done before too is the 150 foot is really for the members of the public and the planning board to see where it can be visible from. When we do the photo simulations, our computer engineering can make sure that they can simulate different tower heights based on even just using the 150 foot height. Well, absolutely. We can float a second balloon at 100 feet. And then we can do simulations later on if the board would like to prefer a 120-foot tower, what that would look like, or a 130-foot tower, what that would look like. This is absolutely something that can be reviewed. Again, the reason for the height being proposed is not purely aesthetic. It's more of a technical need from the radio frequency justification standpoint. So we'll also have documentation on why this is the height that's been proposed.
At 100 feet, is it still feasible to put the tower up?
So we'll have to review that with my RF engineers. We can absolutely document that from a visibility standpoint, but from a radio frequency engineering standpoint, I'd have to speak with Verizon's RF engineers to confirm if that would work. That might be too low.
Well, on that topic, on that subject, the whole idea is to create a seamless coverage on Route 22. As you know, there is a facility in Millerton, I believe, on a water tank, where Verizon has antennas and other carriers have antennas. And then there's one further north in approximately 2 miles north from this site. The name eludes me right now. I'm sorry. But aside from the name of that facility, the idea is to place a tower somewhere in the equal distance to the existing sites, and not and make sure that it still meets the coverage from these other towers. So yes, the radio frequency engineers could look at the coverage that would be achieved at 100 feet. And if it would then connect to these other sites north and south on Route 22.
One more question, then we're gonna move on.
Just want, I want to make sure that everyone recognizes that you're proposing putting this tower in this, what's called the scenic corridor overlay zone that the town established. I think in I understand, but I think it's still important to consider what was said in that planning for the scenic corridor overlay zone. The goal of this was to preserve the natural environment, to protect Ancram's significant scenic resources, to preserve the scenic beauty along New York State Route 22 and the Harlem Valley for the enjoyment of residents, commuters, recreational users, and tourists, to improve the town of Ancram's economic vitality by preserving one of the significant scenic resources within the town, enhancing the town's attractiveness to its citizens, as well as its visitors and tourists. So I would submit that putting a cell tower in the scenic corridor overlay zone is a big mistake. And if even with a 100-foot tower, it could have pretty big impact on the scenic beauty of this area. And I urge you all to consider this decision very carefully, and to make sure that people in the community are well informed about it. And one more thing I wanted to just, the planning board is authorized to approve with modifications or disapprove this special use permit. So you really have the most discretion, and we want to make sure you have all the material you need to make the best decision. And I think, getting as many people, aware of what's happening, none of this has been in the paper yet. No one knows that there's been a cell tower proposed in the scenic corridor overlay zone on Route 22. You're talking about a major impact. It's going to be a big impact. When you go along Route 22, there's a rise in the highway there. So anyone coming north on 22 is going to see it. Anyone coming south is going to see it. I think it's going to be very visible throughout the
Well, that's the idea of doing the balloon test, just to determine exactly how visible it will be.
Okay,
And
and
we
that's very
obviously
important.
totally understand your concern, and want to inform the public of what's going on. Absolutely. And to that note, we just at the beginning of this process. We haven't even submitted the full application yet. So yes, there will be ample time to review this and assess the aesthetic impact. And again, the balloon test and simulations, I think, are key to that.
And the publicity, to make sure as many people.
The
get
publicity, yes,
as possible.
absolutely.
Absolutely. We're fully intending on. I appreciate, but again, we haven't even submitted an application yet. So we're not really rushing this. We first met with this planning board back in September. We've worked on the application items then. We're now only discussing an application item. We're not even submitted an application and act this board to make any substantive decisions yet. We've only asked them to play a part in the balloon test to help us choose photo locations and help inform us on how to notify the public. So we're trying to accomplish all of the things that you're concerned about, to give you that documentation that will give you the understanding of, can you actually see this facility from those points on Route 22? And if you can, is there anything that we can do to mitigate that or to eliminate the visibility of that? Again, we haven't submitted a full application yet, but once we do, I'm sure the public will be more aware of the application. There will be more public notices for any public hearings. And regarding the scenic overlay zone, I do appreciate that, but the scenic overlay zone does anticipate towers being built in there where they allow a tower up to 100 feet. And also, we have to go where there's the need for the service. So we have to be located in an area first that can actually fill the gap in service. We are in an area where the Route 22 corridor is the area that's in need of service. So it puts us in a little bit of a tough position. We're trying to make sure that we do it in the best way possible. And we're trying to file an application that provides all the information to answer all of the questions you're asking. We just want to make sure that we get this one application item in.
Okay, as you go forward, then we'll look for assurances that you're really paying attention to the scenic quality of this area and do all you can to mitigate any scenic impacts.
Absolutely. I think that'll be a very important part of this
We did
board
just do
review.
The application to show the public and everybody else what it's gonna be like. So that's why we don't take too many comments in the beginning, because
Okay.
they're just preparing to show the public and everybody else what they're going to propose, how tall it's gonna be. They're gonna have drawings of the impacts of the view digitally, right, on engineered drawings.
Absolutely.
So they're doing this to present the whole package to the public so that we can open the public to conversation about the whole topic.
And I am sure people will want to give.
Of course, everybody's gonna have input. It's not something that's common here, so, but it's a.
Cell towers are hot topics everywhere we go. So we're used to.
Yeah. Let's get back to business. Okay, so you're gonna make a formal application. Sure.
Yes, we'll make a formal application with everything but the visual analysis report. And then we'll request that we meet at the March meeting to schedule the dates, unless there's any allowance from this board for us to submit it before the March 12th meeting and get this process started earlier.
Well, if at all possible, I would hope to establish a date, maybe, early March, if you think the 22nd is
Why
soon.
don't we try to see what we can do with February 22nd and March 1st? As far as possibly doing the balloon test. I mean, I think that's 2-3 weeks away. It all depends on the weather, but
It's a good
we
start.
gotta start moving, we gotta move somewhere. And sometimes the fear of the unknown is worse than the reality, so.
No, we appreciate that. So, just so I confirm, since the visual analysis is part of the application, and this is a little chicken and the egg, we do want to submit the application. We want to submit the full one. So just as a notice, we'll submit the escrow checks and the application forms, and we've already submitted the drawings, but we can submit them again. And that will be for the purposes of having the balloon test conducted.
If the
Okay.
visual impact study comes later, we understand that. I think it's more important to do the balloon test as soon as possible, so we get real visual appreciation for what it is, and we can move forward and see what we go from there. So let's get it.
We're in
submitted.
agreement.
Yes.
For, potential dates, I don't know how we notify potential tests, but, look for those 2 dates, the February 22nd and the March 1st. I think, let's start with those.
Absolutely. And we can do this. We've noticed them before. So what we do is we'll include in the notice that there'll be inclement weather calls, and that if an inclement weather happens, February 22nd is the first date, March 1st is the first inclement weather date. And we can update notices on the town website to kind of inform people if there has been an inclement weather and a canceling of the balloon
Do we
test.
establish an escrow number for you?
No.
I don't believe so, but we can submit the escrow.
Okay, do we wanna make a motion?
Well, I got a quick question first. Have you guys considered, have your RF engineers considered microcells at all instead of a 150-foot tower?
Yeah, so the microcells are it's too large of a gap in service for a microcell or small cells to fill in. It would require way too many DAS sites, and for this type of gap in service, the largeness of it, it's just too large to fill with small cells or DAS. So this does require a new macro site. But we'll have a full RF justification report with additional information on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
One last thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Since we're proposing February 22nd, we have to keep in mind, you're on the border of multiple, 2 counties, a different state, so the notifications kind of have to cover the whole area.
Exactly. That's why we're suggesting newspaper notices, so we can coordinate with the town for the town's newspaper of record. And I think what was discussed earlier is maybe we can do one for the neighboring county or the neighboring state. If there's a newspaper that's known of more wider circulation in this region, we're happy to put the notice in there as well.
Okay.
The Millerton News would be that, and I don't know if there's the Lakeville Journal. Or
They're the same paper.
We got Massachusetts right there, so you're gonna you just take a look at the area and kind of, see what you're gonna have to put out.
Yeah, we have a website.
Count.
We can plug up on.
Absolutely. We'll try to do multiple versions of the notice, the town website, different newspapers. Our whole goal is to make sure it's a widely noticed public balloon test.
Okay. We want to establish a escrow.
What's the appropriate amount? Something like this, 5,000, 10,000?
Depends on what we have.
We did 5 for the solar.
That's the secret regulation, 1% of the total cost is what we can go up to. Yeah, 5,000 we'll start with.
Absolutely. We can do that.
All right, can I get a motion to establish an escrow for?
I'd like to look to establish an escrow of $5,000 for Homeland Towers.
All in favor?
All right.
Second. Aye.
Second, after aye. Okay.
One more quick comment, cell service is not necessarily here forever, whereas this tower might have a 50-year life. I would propose you at least entertain the idea of taking the bond for its removal when it's no longer useful and some method for assessment. My telephone line no longer comes via the board on pole. And there's a whole lot of satellites in the area that are flying over our heads and we moved in.
Okay, in my experience.
What we can do and often do is establish a removal bond that would assure the town that in case the tower becomes obsolete or technology changes and it's no longer needed, that it can be removed.
All right, enough. All right. We could talk about this forever. All right, I think we've covered it. I think we have some dates to work to. Get the application in and hopefully we'll see you next month.
Thank you so much. Thank you for accommodating us.
Welcome. Good night.
Thank you.
One moment.
The original packet.
That's the original.
Here.
All right. There you go. Okay, new business, Burke. Abbreviated site plan, sketch plan, abbreviated site plan.
How are you?
Good evening.
Here, the whole time. I also have Peter Biggert on Zoom, who is the architectural designer, and he did the same thing. So I don't know if you need to bring that in.
Well, let's start and see where we go.
Was there more copies with the? There, these are on the back
These are
side.
the recent today drawings.
You have that,
I have another one.
Right, there were
No.
changes made this afternoon, and he called me at 1 o'clock, I called my designer, he made the changes, but we were not able to copy it.
Oh, so there's no
we
picture
have
copy.
one copy.
Just so you
Yeah.
understand, the first file didn't make the deadline by doing that, so we won't approve anything tonight, but just beware.
Okay,
It's over.
I didn't make the deadline, for me.
Well, the
We
dead-
Can't review the plans.
Especially if they're not printed out yet.
They're changed. Right, but you guys changed them today. And you didn't give me any time. If you gave me time, I would have made sure I had copies and your office had copies. I don't expect anything other than to present my project.
Okay, well,
Okay.
I just didn't want you to think.
No, I don't.
Be on this evening.
Okay.
So let's, see which is.
I have that copy on the old house.
This is okay.
We didn't get it until 5 o'clock today.
So,
They're in Dropbox. You were all in
This-
Dropbox.
No,
Oh, they're all there.
I believe that was them both.
Property line, and it's seven.
Can you tell us the change?
Yeah, sure. We changed the setback to the rear setback. And the reason being, I think the whole thing was, the survey had made a mark on his survey stating that when it's an unusual shape like this, he just determined that that was the back or the side and this was the back and it was reversed. So we really, he should have notified me and I should have put the planning board.
Yeah, he put a
Didn't
disclaimer.
realize that there
He
was
put a
any issue.
disclaimer on the survey. saying
Yes,
he- he-
yes.
He gave the impression that he was told to do something else.
Really?
Yeah, he said he didn't agree with it, but basically, with the disclaimer, it's on the survey.
It's on one of them,
Yeah.
right? I didn't realize there was any question.
I have this survey.
So it's this,
Shows the distance here
right,
to this, and then he moved the distance
right. So
bigger. But it doesn't show the front.
Oh, it should show, the front is here, the front is along Under Mountain Road. The front of the property is on the mountain road, this is
Well, no,
now the back,
right, but this one says 31'11". What was
that's
the,
just. From the location of the structure.
okay, this is the setback, okay, gotcha.
I don't know, the setback was, so,
I don't understand how it could be 60 feet here and 26 feet there.
because it's,
It has changed, there's.
it has
small
changed.
copy of the
This is
change.
the old map,
Oh, so
you're looking at the new map on your phone. Right, it was done at 5 o'clock today.
Got it.
And I apologize. If I had known there needed to be a change, I would have made sure it was done.
This. So they're saying this property line.
Okay, and that's the topography, so that's still old.
Rear.
Yeah, so, right, the only new is on your phone.
This is.
Oh, yeah, I just agree with that little piece.
So then the house from the plans that we did have. Fits, we moved the house, yeah, the house moved and the ADU. And everything else stayed the same. Okay, and I asked if the well had to be moved, but I was told it could be within the setback,
What can?
the well,
Oh, yeah.
okay. So. So on this new plan, does it show the area of disturbance? What should on the original one, there should be, so it should relatively be the same, but again, that. On the big one? Do you want me to grab one? I thought on that application. Right. It needs to be, it's 44,000. But again, Peter is on hold if you guys want to let him in, he can answer 22. Yeah, if you let him in, he'll be able to answer any questions you have. Thanks. So this list of the area disturbance. Okay. So
Hey.
that's all of these edges are taken into account. Right, Peter,
21,000.
Yeah, I'm here.
hi, so this is Peter Biggert, he's the architectural designer.
Hi, my name is Peter Biggert. I'm the designer helping out with this project.
So Peter, they're asking about the area of disturbance. Is it the same as what you originally put, or is it different because of the move of the building?
No, so it actually, the area of disturbance got reduced because we, so the rear setback and the side setback actually got flipped on the original survey. So the one we submitted today, we updated to the correct rear setback and side setback. So we shifted the building forward and then the area of disturbance got reduced. So it's 21,240. And the original one was 22,444. So it actually got reduced by us moving the building forward.
That includes like the grading plan, like to, because this is slope here, like where the house is, so.
Yep, so all the proposed structures, the leach field, proposed well, driveways are included in that.
So, but I mean, like when you have to grade, you have to fill, cut and fill, and that goes outside, like the area disturbance is very, very close to the house, so.
Yeah, you can't build a house in 5 feet.
It's just, there's what, 2, 4, 6, 8 feet difference from the front to the back. Well, that's where this location is, so the other location is forward more, which I can't see it. That's it. Here's the. Just making sure, I mean, if it's close to half an acre, then we're still under the limit for. Great.
Yeah, so it's, yeah, it was I understood it as an acre was the amount. So, it's still well.
It is, it's an acre.
Yeah, so, I did a 5-foot offset around the building. Obviously, if it's more, but I think we're still like 20,000 square feet away from being over an acre. So I'm comfortable with, that we're still within, even with that offset.
Yeah, cause it's also like, you're right up against that, the buffer line there and it's. I don't know, we don't know if that's got it, that shed. It's gonna be inside the house.
Okay, the backup, though. You can't back up far and 12 feet. So something has to change, it's gonna increase the coverage, you need 25 feet to back the farm.
Okay.
In both places. Now you have a guest cottage over here.
I don't have a guest cottage, it's an EDU, and we put it in when we received an email from the county and the state stating that they were desperate for moderate income housing. So we're putting this project together, we've got to see if it fit. Whether or not it works for us and in our budget is another story, we're still working on it, it's brand new. It was put on a week ago.
Okay,
Okay.
it's another dwelling unit.
Yes, it is another dwelling unit, I'm sorry.
How many bedrooms?
Just one,
Just one.
yes.
There's no sanitary or well.
There's a septic, and if we just received a letter from the Department of Health. And they're requesting that we put a 1,000-gallon tank at the ADU and also again, 1,000-gallon tank at the main structure. And both can lead into leach field. I'm
The
pretty
house is,
sure I read it.
the house is a 2-bedroom house?
2-bedroom house. They said the leach field would accommodate three bedrooms, or those are the 3 bedrooms.
And there's gonna be disturbance between this dwelling unit and the rest of the site. Contractor isn't gonna go take his equipment and out into the street and come over here to work. There's gonna be a path here. I think that the whole coverage thing, the disturbed area has gotta be rethought. I think it's just too compact. You don't have backup for cars. You don't have parking spaces for cars. There's a lot of things here that have to be revised.
Well, really what we're doing, or I thought I was doing, was presenting what our project's gonna be. And you telling us if it's good, bad, or indifferent, if this amount of structure can be on this property, and then we will come back with our plans. Right? Then we're wrong with that?
Yeah,
So this is, yeah,
So this is.
informational.
oh,
It's brand new.
all right, I'm just pointing out some of the issues. That, you gotta provide 2 parking spaces. You can't back a car out of a garage in 12 feet, you need 25 feet.
And we will. We'll
Okay,
do
well, I'm
whatever
just,
is
I'm
needed.
trying to help you update the plan so it has the information.
Peter, are you making notes?
Yeah, I got it. So,
Okay, please.
for the house, we have a garage that's gonna be part of the overall footprint. So we thought possibly as like turning in and turning out, you could do it like that. But if you want to increase it to 25, yeah, that's
You can't physically do it in this area, I'm sorry. You can't physically do it.
okay. Yeah, no, we can update that.
Yeah. And,
We just want to make sure that there isn't encroachment in there. So.
Right. You're right up against-
Setback.
Yeah.
Into
Okay.
the.
And
buffer.
everything we put together today, because we got the phone call from the top. So we'll go back, we'll look at everything, we'll make. sure
Yeah,
it
just to
works
make sure
for
that you are
guys.
setting like the shed and the house that you will have enough room to
Yes.
work around it and
Yeah.
it is up against that.
Right.
Yeah,
It's
you're
up
not supposed
against
to,
the.
buffer line.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
there's
close
not
to
supposed to be
that.
any equipment in that, you can only handwork in the buffer.
Okay,
You can't, be your bulldozers through the buffer.
well, we're using, Perry glue So Terry's pretty familiar.
Yeah,
with
okay.
What he can and can't do.
Yeah.
And you guys should have a proposal from him in my packet, which tells you what he's gonna do.
Well, that's not a,
No, I did get very,
well, it's not our.
Oh.
The building permit application says your contractor is Flavorette Pumping Well. I don't think I don't know if he builds houses, so that's what you put on your.
That's the only thing that's in there.
That's
It's on the
that's what the contractor is stated.
He's not on contract.
It says contractor.
True. Is that what I did? Okay, so that's, I apologize. I did the application. The little,
You did the budget for this construction?
trying to. I am trying to, but I do have Terry Boyle's information with me, and I made copies.
Yeah,
for you
that's
guys if
fine.
You want it?
At some point, somebody has to be the contractor, but I don't think Flavorette Pumping Well is the job.
No, I have a contractor. I have a GC and an architect and an architectural designer. Okay?
So I'm curious of, how the line for the buffer was established.
It was the surveyor, and he did a site visit with people, and they set it up.
So a delineation,
I don't know what they call it, but
or
he went out to the site and did the survey. It was when he did the topography. Okay.
do you know, did he mark it on the site for you?
I asked, but we didn't get that far.
I think that you might wanna have
Right.
that for everybody else, yeah.
Discussed, yeah.
Yeah, that's, it's very helpful.
Okay.
Okay.
Before it for the ADU, so it was very long for the other side, so we could driveway on the other side. For it's not top of them, about that in any sort of depth, that we were gonna, I told them, I was putting it on the site plan. Right, so the frame of.
Okay, any other questions on this application? Thoughts, concerns?
I think we need to see the new drawings.
Yeah.
So the new drawings with the new starting.
Yeah, you gotta provide the backup, the parking spaces. There should be a connection between this, what you call an ADU and the rest of the site, because they're not gonna go out in the street.
Who's not?
The excavator isn't gonna go take a bulldozer out in the street to come over here to work. He's gonna drive across the site.
Right, but we have the leach field.
Yes, you still have to get from here, however you do it, you gotta get from.
All right, so you want us to indicate, like a clear
I want
path?
a realistic disturbance map that shows
Okay.
the real area. You can't build a building with 3 feet of disturbance behind it. It's just not physically possible.
Okay,
Bulldozer, the excavator is gonna be all over here. This whole site's gonna be torn up before we're all said and done. Then it's too late. And you gotta show some silt fencing.
Right, well, he's actually eventually on one of
He
the. Yeah.
says he's gonna put silt fencing, but you got.
I have to show it on the drawing? Okay, sure. And what else do we have to show? It's silk fencing and.
Silt fencing detail. I mean, there's no grading here. Terry says he's cutting down a hill. I don't know what hill he's cutting down. I can't see that from
It's where the
here.
house is, I know.
I can't see that from
You
here.
see it on the topography, you do, because it's great. Well, the setback.
You know,
I'm not sure if a little more here.
I don't know.
That's fine.
Whoever the survey
We have
is.
to wait for the.
But
Yeah,
this,
we gotta read
here,
the
give
full-
them this plan, shows this one here. It shows the total one. This is the property, right, but this shows it with the house on it. Oh. Right. Oh, I didn't do that. Right, so it does show it at the home, right? Yes, you can see the topo, yeah. Yeah, we don't really.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more disturbance then.
I think you need the updated statement, it should be in the package. Yeah. It was on the original survey, yeah.
He's moving a lot of dirt over here. You gotta put it somewhere and do something. To take it away.
Can you push it down, the hill, and should we equal?
No,
No.
I'm not gonna, no, leach fields are not supposed to be filled over. They're supposed to be, unless it's a fill system.
Right.
They're not supposed to fill,
Okay, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
Right.
if it's a fill system, then you gotta bring in engineered fill. You can't just change the
Right.
character of the soil.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you gotta do a little more grading when you plan, because it's not representative of what's really going on.
So when this is in, like after all this grading and everything, it's gonna be really open to the rail trail? Rail trail finally on the back end of the property. Right. I mean, you're not gonna see any that we're building here. And here. Yeah. Here. Right. Another. So there's no. No, they're all mature trees. You don't really see anything.
Yeah. I guess I.
They're all-
That section, you don't see
Yeah.
very much.
You don't see anything. You hear people, but you don't see anything.
There's also thing with the height of the rail trail there,
It's,
probably somehow
right,
obscures it more.
right, there's a, steep
Yeah, yeah. I'll use
Hell.
probably kind of like that.
that goes to where we'll try and play the house.
They can be on the still stuff.
I have my.
All right,
So we need a more detail. Okay. So this is start, right?
yeah, it's definitely a start.
Are you guys okay with everything else? I mean,
You're-
is it
you're
okay where
usually-
the houses are positioned?
You're usually.
No, it's just, I
I've
guess
never done this
that's the only thing my concern is the proximity.
That
to
it's
the-
so close.
Yeah, and that, so no boulders, there's nothing should disturb, no tree cutting, that, right, read about buffers, nothing
Yeah,
should
that's why
happen
they
in
come and
there.
Mark that out.
Right,
That's
okay,
clear,
and
yeah.
we can do that, that's no problem. Okay, we'll go from the survey and look at it. And so, whether we, I don't know, yeah. Work with. This really isn't like a grading plan, and so it's hard to tell. What, like he says, the disturbance will be without a grading plan, so we don't, okay, so we don't really know, but. Well, no, I don't think that's required, but I'm just saying that. That's what also shows the area of disturbance, do a grading plan.
Yeah, we have no elevations to the buildings to tie anything in. Where the house was, we could tie it into grade maybe, but. It's just kind of,
The map is, we put on top of it, topography, right?
yeah, we have topography here. I don't know, is the finished floor 690? Is it 650? I can't.
Taking the step.
No,
Yeah, you're taking it down, yeah.
Yeah. You just want a clear indication of where the dirt's going, what's being removed, and then kind of the
Yeah,
area
'cause
that's,
if you're gonna go fill some area on the site with the material, let's disturb it.
exactly. Okay, that's something we can indicate.
And I don't think, I didn't read the entire health department, but. In my experience, you're not just supposed to just fill over a septic field because that's what's been tested. You can't just.
No,
arbitrarily-
I.
You can't arbitrarily raise the grade and say, okay, this is what I got, you know.
No, yeah, understood. Yeah, we're not gonna lay it flat there.
We don't have a problem with that.
No,
Yeah.
we have to approve something that's realistic and that's gonna work.
Understood. So, but your house has not been designed yet? No, we're working on that. Maybe it could be fit in, so you didn't have to.
That was something we were considering as well, yeah.
Carve it into the hill a little bit, so that it, you know. We had talked about, Peter and I had spoken about a bank barn. That
Yeah,
might definitely a disturbance on the site. And we're certainly not opposed to anything like that. So it's just a matter of coming up with the right design. That will work for the property and then having everything coordinated. Right?
Okay, I just
So
see the
aesthetically.
numbers like that.
And
Want it to be beautiful, that's why we bought property.
and it being lower on the hill and actually was something we learned about today. So we're kind of we're thinking through that.
Yeah, I mean, anything on a slope. It would make sense. Yeah, anything on a slope to try to make it flat is like, you know. It's
Oh, it's
and then
impossible.
all those areas where then it's disturbed, it's like, right, it's like dead soils, it's like what to plant there unless you want all lawn, you know.
Yeah, originally we were on like more of the flat part of the site. So now that it's forward, we're actually thinking about it like you're describing,
have more.
more of a bank barn. Because
Yeah,
before
more opportunity to
it
do
was
that.
a little,
Sounds like a very nice option to think about, yeah.
I think it would look great, yeah.
Okay,
We're good?
I think we are. You understand what we're asking for and hopefully get it in by the submission date, please.
Yes,
So
yes.
that we have time to review it and, we'll see you.
24th of next month. This month.
Those-
Are you able to do that? And am I able to, come via Zoom if I have to? As long as you're. Well, one of the neighbors here. Yeah. Well, that's no problem. I can always get the
Quite
paper.
honestly, we're we're gonna eliminate presentation. It just doesn't really work.
And I agree. I am starting a new position with the city of New York and. I'm
You're
not
from
gonna-
Rochelle? You're from
Pardon me?
Rochelle?
I'm from New Rochelle. Yeah. So I start actually on.
Where?
I'm going to ACS.
Okay.
1200
Water Place?
No, it's 61 Broadway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Well, they must say
I work
that.
for the city too.
Oh, did you? Okay. Yeah. I'm gonna take the ferry out of Broadstone.
Okay.
Right to walk, pretty perfect. Yeah, and it's so live, it's got coffee and. That's right. Okay, thank you. I really appreciate everyone's time. I'm sorry for the last change and we'll figure it out.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
That's bad stuff here for discussion. Is there anything urgent here that? Is there anything urgent here that we can? So, I don't disagree with you.
Oh, no, we need a motion to adjourn. I vote we adjourn the meeting.
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. For adjourned.
Jump right in. Gotta go to bed.